All right, welcome to another episode of the LogiCast. My name is BlankaKong. Got a full panel tonight, joined by Esoteric Skills, Gunner EOS, and How to Wolf. Today we're going to be talking about a quote and an article, which will be linked in the description down below, from Game World Observer. Moon Studio CEO on why AAA exclusives ran their course and what's next for Xbox and PlayStation. We're at a real turning point now. The article is basically talking about the stagnation of modern video games and how companies want to increase their profitability and sales. We talked in the past episodes about Xbox bringing some of their exclusives over to PlayStation and Switch, and as well as, we didn't talk about this, but it is happening, PlayStation moving a lot of their exclusive titles over to PC. The reason why these companies are doing that is to increase unit sales for those particular projects, right? It's like milking more money out of projects that you've already created, which makes a lot of sense. And with the industry plateauing and kind of evening out, companies like Sony and Microsoft, they want to see that number go up. They want to see the line go up. And so to them, it's like, okay, well, do these games really need to be exclusive? There's a whole user base over here that we can take advantage of, and offer these titles to Switch players, to PC players, to Xbox players, or to mobile players. So the article is basically outlining that and how the industry is shifting, and how this 20 to 25 year philosophy of exclusives to specific console units being a thing of the past. So the next Halo game might be on PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 6 or whatever the hell it's called. The next Gears of War game could be on the Nintendo Switch or Switch 2 or whatever that's called. These are things that can happen in order to just maximize profitability for the projects that are increasing in budget, right? These games are getting more expensive to create, and when those numbers go up, it becomes harder to recoup the cost and make that project profitable, right? So I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm not like a console or a company like fanboy personally. Like, I don't really give a shit when people ask me, hey, are you a PlayStation guy or an Xbox guy? I'm like, I'm a guy who likes games. That is it. So I have every console. I don't really give a shit about one versus the other. Do I like certain consoles over other consoles? Sure. But I'm not waving any flags over here. So anyways, with that being said, what do you guys think about the article? Have you guys had a chance to read through it? What are your thoughts? Whoever wants to start or continue.
Yes. So I'll go. Yeah, I read the article. I completely agree. We're already seeing this transpire. With you said it. Xbox is putting games like Hi-Fi Rush, rest in peace, and some of their other, I guess, quote unquote, notable first-party titles over to Nintendo and Sony with the PlayStation. And PlayStation's been doing that on PC for a hot minute. Like, Helldivers is a game that's on PC. Ghost of Tsushima will soon be on PC. Horizon's already there. God of War, the sequel, will be there at some point. So, I think the days of when we were younger, I buy a PlayStation console for its exclusivity, or I buy a Xbox for Gears of War and Halo. Like, that's pretty much on its way out, if not out already. And I echo Kong's point with, it's fine. Like, I've never bought a console for exclusivity. I usually stick to Sony and Nintendo because I'm a JRPG guy, and those games tend to kind of orbit in those two ecosystems. So as far as I'm personally concerned, all I ever need is a PlayStation console and a Nintendo console, because Xbox tried wooing the weebs back in the 2000s with getting some exclusives on the 360 at the time, and it just didn't work out. So I have no need for an Xbox, and at this point, they're kind of all the same, minus the Switch. If we just compare the Xbox to the PlayStation, sure, we can min-max and say which one is technically better or worse, but fundamentally, when it comes to it, at the end of the day, it's the same console. It's the same thing, same experience. So, I mean, yeah, I think the days of AAA exclusives are pretty much done. we're already seeing that even before this article came out. So, I mean, cool if it gets me, to play a game like Hi-Fi Rush, which I was interested in, and I didn't have an Xbox or the PC capable of playing it at the level that it deserves to be played at. Cool, now I can play Hi-Fi Rush. And Xbox gets some residual income from guys like me who were either unwilling or unable to play in the Xbox ecosystem. So I'm all for that. If everybody gets access to things, this whole tribalism thing with the console, I'm over it. Like I've grown past that. So I'm down with it. I'm cool. Bring it on, I say. Except Nintendo. Nintendo just does their own thing. So the day Nintendo ever gives up their IPs is the day Nintendo no longer exists as a video game publisher. So Nintendo will never give up their stuff. But that's my piece for the now. I'll pass it off to one of you guys.
I definitely agree with what Gunnar said. And even with Nintendo reminds me of my son's mother, where when she's at work, she never knows anything when it comes to dealing with anything other than what her job it details. So she's the kind of person that's like, "Hey, have you seen this, or did you know about this incident?" Nope. Okay. Did you witness this? Nope. Have you seen where this item went? Nope. That's just Nintendo for me. Like, they live in their own universe. It's like they just don't apply, I guess, to they for them it's always not applicable.
Mm.
For them, I guess. But I definitely do agree that the gaming structure should change. The whole tribalism thing definitely needs to disappear. And you know what? I think that's great because it allows more conversations in the gaming community. It allows more gamers to connect in different ways. I can uh, play Stellar Blade on the PS5, and a coworker or a friend of mine can play Stellar Blade on the Xbox, for example. This is just an example. And we're able to talk about it. We're able to look forward to the next Stellar Blade, and whatever gaming developing company created that game, they get more money because the guy didn't have to say, "Oh, well, I need $500 to buy a PS5 to play Stellar Blade," for example. And I didn't say, "Well, I needed $400 or $500 to play, I don't know, Gears of War," for example. Like, I think there's more good to this than necessarily bad. I think it's a nice way for the gaming community, for the gaming space or the entertainment space to go. So I'm for it, to be honest. I really am.
Well said. Well said.
Okay, so on my end, I am a little concerned about this push for games to be on all like different platforms and whatnot. And my biggest concern is because it seems like it's going to be a direct correlation to which they're already doing. I mean, let's be for real. But basically pushing titles to become fully digital. As far as my understanding goes, or what I typically do, I purchase consoles for two reasons. If with these modern consoles that have like connectivity to via the internet and whatnot, I buy whatever console my friends are on. Why? Because during that time I played a lot of multiplayer games, and the only way to play with them prior to all these games coexisting within the same network, because Sony could only play with Sony individuals, PC, and the other respective team, Xbox. Prior to that, I would play with my friends, do with whatever system they had, and I would match that in order to stay connected and be able to play with everyone. The second reason why I would also purchase different consoles were for their exclusivity as well, because with PlayStation you had games like Spyro, you had like Sly Cooper, Heavily Sword, things like that. And Xbox you had like Gears of War, Halo, and whatnot. So that was the incentive to buy separate systems, because only certain exclusives reside within that. Now my question would be, if they were to incentivize this this movement of having everything on every platform, wouldn't that somewhat omit the creation or future creation of consoles? I feel like they might as well would just push like what Xbox has been doing, a cloud-based service, because it would be more fiscally feasible on their end. It's like, hey, we give them a variety of different games for the price of like $15 a month or so on. And then if Sony follows suit, and then if Nintendo follows suit, which would be like much later, then pretty much it seems like they're going to be pushing cloud-based services for whatever games that they have. And I'm not opposed to different games being on different platforms, but I'm a little reluctant because I potentially see this push for digital and the lack of us being able to own our media. That's my concern.
All right, so here's the thing with that. As far as the digital thing goes, I think that's just a widespread systemic issue. I don't know there's not much that can be done about that, unfortunately, unless you kind of like support digital media when and where you can.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as your comment about what's the point? Like, what's the point of getting a PlayStation 5 to play the inevitable Horizon 3 when I can just wait year, 2 years, 3 years and play it on PC? And that's the answer right there. It's, I want to play it now. How am I going to be able to play it now? I get a PlayStation 5. And so that's where I think they're going to go with exclusivity, which is what Sony's kind of been doing. So like anytime a new Horizon or God of War game comes out, it's coming out first and foremost on the PlayStation, and it'll stay exclusive to the PlayStation for maybe a year, 2 or 3 years, or 4 years the most. Look at Ghost of Tsushima. How long has PlayStation had access to Ghost of Tsushima? For basically 2 console generations. Started on the PS4, and it, eventually they remastered it and put like the big game of the year edition on PlayStation 5. PC is just now, or will soon, get access to Ghost of Tsushima. So that's where your exclusivity, that's why it still matters. Because if you want to play a game like that, and you want to play it now, and not 4 years from now, you're going to get a PlayStation 5. So I think exclusive games will exist. They just won't exist like the way we grew up knowing them, where Halo was only on an Xbox, Gears of War was only on an Xbox, God of War was only on PlayStation. It's just now, yeah, God of War will be on PlayStation for 4 years, and then PC will get it because we've tapped our home base, so to speak. So now we're going across the ocean, metaphorically, and spreading to other parts of the gaming world, PC and whatnot, just to get more money from them. So I think you still will have your exclusivity. It just won't be forever like it used to be.
Okay, so in that regard, then that makes sense, because I was under the assumption that they're pretty much just creating a melting pot where once the game releases, you would have the option on each platform to decide like which one you're going to choose to play it on. Now, and that makes a lot of sense, because my biggest concern was, well, what is the point of having consoles, because or having a specific console, because it seems like the what's the movement at this point is that they're combining servers for people to play multiplayer games like Call of Duty, what's that other game that I don't really play and I don't really care for? Shit.
Well, if you don't care for it, that means I probably care for it
Fortnite,
less.
Apex Legends, Roblox.
Not Apex Legends. It's the one with they got all the different skins. They're always buying new.
Fortnite.
Yeah, Fortnite. Fortnite. Like it seems like they're pretty much assimilating everything together, and if I'm thinking properly, like a company, aside from what you just mentioned, Gunnar, pertaining to, okay, well, we're going to have it for a certain amount of time, and then we're going to port it over to other consoles. I thought it would have been like, okay, we got this. This is the game. It's out for kind of like third party companies that just create games for both consoles. You know, back in the days where they had, and they still do it today, they would have like Mortal Kombat for Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, and it'll be on across all platforms. I figured that's what they would have been doing with the exclusives. And my concern was, well, what's the point of even getting a specific console, let alone them creating a console to begin with? Because if you look at Xbox, Xbox has they have the console and they also have their Xbox Live in association with, I forgot what the other term they call their Xbox game platform. That's a cloud-based service.
Game Pass?
Yeah, Game Pass. Thank you. Where they have most of their exclusives and most of their games within that library. And you don't necessarily have to play it on your Xbox. You can play it on your PC, or you can even play it on a smart TV. So, you know, aside from that tidbit that you mentioned, I was just a little concerned. Well, like, okay, they're just going to get rid of consoles as a whole, with Nintendo following suit relatively later. And then
Xbox definitely wants to. Like, they definitely want to get rid of the Xbox. They definitely want to do, and Sony probably do it if you showed them a bar graph where the line went up.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But and no hate on them, because as a company, your goal is to make profit, with minimal loss. But as a consumer, my concern will be, well, that's only going to further push the narrative of digital media. And if everything is assimilated as I, expected it to be, then there's no reason for them having consoles. That was.
Well, there's another layer to this cake too. Like between all three consoles, none of the consoles run exactly the same, and none of the consoles will have the same privileges as the other consoles may have. For example, let's use like say the game comes out on the PS5, for example, and it was originally an exclusive game for the PS5, or it starts off on the PS5 anyways. It may run better or worse than it will run on the Switch or the Xbox. It may have graphical differences. And we know somebody who is very concerned on the slightest of graphical differences in his video games. So there are people out there who really do care about that stuff. There are people out there who care about processing time. There are people who care about loading issues, and then every console still has its own limitations, and every console is still built differently. Even if they, like the current Xbox console and the current Sony console, yes, they have 4K, but they still run differently. The games, like, when you decide on what console you pick up first, or what console you should own, it's all going to be based on, one, how affluent are you? Two, if you're the kind of gamer who cares about, the intricacies of the machine, that will also play a huge factor. And also will play a huge factor is because they did it with Star Ocean many, many years ago, Star Ocean 4.
Yeah,
I believe it came on the Xbox first, and then
A New Hope
later, A New Hope came out on the PlayStation. So it all depends. Okay, well, if the projected game's coming out this year, and that's only assuming this is the tactic that they choose to go with. But if the projected games that come out this year, if 10 of them are going to be on the Xbox and 8 of them you're interested in, logically speaking, so you don't miss out on the games and you get them as quickly as possible, it will make sense to still get the Xbox, even though your best friend Johnny down the street is willing to wait a year or two to get it on his opposite console. So there's so many layers to this cake where it's like people still decide, and it's not going to overall kill the tribalism either, because the moment that a game comes out and it has even just DLC differences, for example, potential DLC differences, people are gonna want to claim it and own it, put and put it to the contest of what other gaming companies or what other consoles is going to get privileged to. And if something like this was to happen and Nintendo jump on board, because Nintendo refuses to develop their video game consoles in a certain way, their games is going to lack a lot. Like I know the latest they have Kingdom Hearts on the Switch, but it's a cloud-based game. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? Kingdom
Mhm.
Hearts doesn't need to be a cloud-based game on the Sony's consoles, and it doesn't need to be a cloud-based game on the Xbox consoles. But that's because of the limitations of the Switch. So things like that comes into play. There's variables. So that's why I say I'm for it, because in the end of the day, I can still say, okay, well, I like my Sony console, and I still will stick with my Sony console, understandingly understanding that, maybe down the line, my brother who now has an Xbox console, he will be able to play the same game that I play. I'll just have to wait a year to have that conversation with him, or 6 months, or 2 years. It really doesn't matter. The
Yeah.
point is, eventually he'll get that privilege to play the same game.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I get that under those circumstances, but here's another variable for you. So, as you stated, like, different consoles have their different quirks and capabilities and components that gravitates people. What's
Definitely.
to say that companies are like, well, you know what? Let's eliminate those restrictions and let's just put everything on the cloud, and everything runs effectively within our servers, and all that's required from your end is having a good smart TV and a good internet connection.
But that doesn't change the fact that the console can run differently, though, and it really doesn't change that aspect.
No,
So,
I'm
like,
not saying.
say, right, if
I'm
Sony
not.
chooses
Mhm. No, go
if
ahead.
Sony
Go ahead.
chooses a creative way to, or their own, or builds the next PlayStation console in their own creative way, and Microsoft builds their next console in their own creative way, the two consoles are still not the same. So while they are maybe cloud-based games or cloud-based consoles, it can still be a huge difference. Like, we've seen people go through this before, where they'll say, "Oh my gosh, this game is 1 pixel better than the version that it is on the other console," and that honestly does play a huge part. It really does. Like, some games run 30 frames per second on the Switch. The same game can run 60 frames per second on the PS5. For me, I don't really give a flying fuck. As long as the game is running, I can play it. I can't even tell the difference. Well, yes, I can tell the difference between a 30 and a 60 FPS game, but regardless of it, I can play those games on either console and still be satisfied. There are people out there who just cannot do that. They cannot play a 30 FPS game knowing that there's an option out there for them to play it on 60 FPS.
Yeah.
So
True.
it's still there. Like, you still have your own specific flavors, regardless of, the game being, even if it is cloud based, they can still have their differences too. Even with DLC, they can have their differences.
I get that, but how often do they make different DLC for respective like companies and whatnot?
Well,
The biggest one that I seen that I can recall was Soul Calibur 2, when they had like Link for Nintendo,
Well, they
Spawn
well,
for
they,
Xbox, and
they used
you
to
know,
do that a lot back in the day. They used to
yeah,
have
yeah,
like
yeah,
Xbox gets I remember it for DMC. There was
yeah,
a Best Buy version, there was a GameStop version, there was an Xbox exclusive DLC and a PlayStation exclusive DLC. That's like
yeah.
four separate things that are all in different kingdoms, and it's just like, well, if I'm an Xbox, I gotta get it on Xbox and I gotta pre-order on GameStop, or I'm a PS user and I gotta pre-order it at Best Buy. So I mean, I'm kind of glad that that's not so much a thing anymore. It's not really a thing at all anymore, because those were bad times. Like, say what you want about DLC, I've learned to live with it.
Uh-huh.
But like that was rough. So I don't really miss the exclusive console DLC. Eh,
Well, yeah, I get what you're saying with that, because if a game is on two, or on if it's on all consoles, then all the content should be available to the person who's buying that game. It's not, I guess it's not
yeah.
fair for
I
for
mean, but
someone to
you are
have.
right though with the Soul Calibur with Soul Calibur reason. If I wanted to play as Link, I'm getting it on the Xbox. Like that is for someone a potential console, a console buyer right there. I want to play as Link. Where can I play Link? The GameCube version only. All right, that's the version I'm getting. I want Spawn. Where is he? Xbox. Get an Xbox. I want who the fuck was Sony?
Heihachi.
Heihachi.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's weird. I thought it would have been. Well, I know Kratos was on the PSP one. So, but anyway, I want Heihachi. Where's Heihachi? Sony. I'm there. So that is a good example. But now,
20-year example would have been Soul Calibur 4 with Yoda and Darth Vader.
And Vader.
It's okay. All the examples are pretty ancient.
That.
Like the whole DLC tied to like pre-order bonuses at specific retailers. That's like a 2010 thing. Like we were in the middle of like it was a heavy console war between PlayStation 3 and 360 at the time. So of course those things were going to happen at that time. Now in modern day, they take that same DLC that would have been distributed to Best Buy, GameStop, and Target, and they just cut it up and add it to a fucking battle pass that you have to pay for. So you get fucked either way. You're not getting all the content. And to answer your concerns as far as like how this affects digital, it might affect digital, but digital's happening. Like there's nothing we can do about that. All we can do is just dig our heels into the ground and continue to support physical media for as long as we're able to.
And I agree. I absolutely agree with that. I just feel like this movement is going to be a direct correlation to incentivize further the consumption of digital media. Because honestly speaking, I understand, again, like every console have their different quirks, they have their different things, but all those quirks and components and whatnot can be minimized to a TV and internet. Like the same experience that you get from playing on a Series X, you get that same experience playing on their cloud-based service for their Game Pass. And I've tested it out. I've played some of the games directly on the Series X, and then I also played like some of the games on my smart TV with my Xbox controller, because they allow you to connect your Xbox controller to your smart TV and whatnot. And it was the same experience. The only difference would have been the internet, depending upon how well your internet runs. And it's like, if a company a company will be willing to cut corners if that opening is available. And if they're able to see that, oh, well, there's no more exclusivity for these consoles anymore. Oh, this console is getting the same games that this console is getting. Why are we, ladies and gentlemen, why are we making consoles to begin with? Why don't we just incentivize this cloud-based service, put everything on that, and people just pay a monthly fee, and we get that residual income consistently coming in.
That's a perfect segue to the next piece of this article. And I will say one thing before I read this piece here. I've said it for what feels like forever now. The next console generation will not be consoles; they will be applications you download. So mark that date. So anyway, at the bottom of the article, I just want to relay this because this kind of correlates to what you were just saying. Mahler also thinks it won't matter that much in the future what console you have, comparing the possible outcome to the time when people own DVD players from different manufacturers. The hardware still matters to some degree, but you'll be able to get the same entertainment on all those devices, he said, adding that Nintendo will probably be the only company no need to change the current model. He also assumed, one more piece. He also assumed that Microsoft gaming CEO Phil Spencer was probably thinking that way when making the decision to open up the Xbox platform, especially as console sales continue to fail with each quarter. If Xbox transforms into box that plays everything without the hassle, that's a pretty compelling concept, he noted.
See, again, Nintendo just operates on Nintendo time. It's like,
they don't follow rules.
Yeah, but
eventually, they don't follow suit.
But the thing is about what sustains Nintendo, in my opinion, are their exclusives. Their exclusives have kept them afloat this far. Now, in the future, I don't know if that's going to continue their sustainability, but that's what.
Well, that depends on what Nintendo wants to do, right? Like, it depends on how much they want to grow.
Yeah.
It's really the ball's in their court. Their first-party titles has held down their console units and hardware sales since like N64. Like, and for being a hot take incoming, N64 was a great console in terms of it being one of the first consoles to have 4 ports, it being like heavily multiplayer centric.
Mhm.
The first party titles that only existed on N64 were fucking spectacular. They had the best wrestling games in that generation. But
Yeah.
but incoming, the console's library's ass compared to that of the PlayStation. It just is. It just is.
No,
It just
absolutely,
is.
absolutely,
no,
absolutely.
it is.
absolutely.
yeah, like it's
So,
not really.
so was the GameCube. Like
Right, the
both of them,
GameCube, and I
you know,
don't
their
think
library
I think the
wasn't that
GameCube
great.
had great games. Like GameCube was amazing, but
No, but their third-party support
was
was
lackluster.
lacking.
And when you compare that to the PS2 library, it's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. And then if you want to throw in the Xbox, yeah, the Xbox was the most powerful console amongst the three. And any title that was on GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2, it played the best on Xbox. But the unit sales between Xbox, PlayStation, and GameCube, Xbox was third, dead last. And by not it wasn't close, and it was not close. Like PlayStation was leading the charge, and Nintendo was second. So power isn't everything. It isn't. And look at Nintendo Switch sales. Switch is blowing every other console out of the water right now. In the current, you could even add PS4s to that mix. They're beating them too, or they've beaten them already. They're already third place in all time unit sales. So.
And I think that's because they made the adjustment of, okay, well, we had lack of third-party support. Now we do.
Now
we made
all kinds of support. They have a digital storefront.
Yeah.
They've got indie support. They've got retro support. They've got third-party support. Their first party is strong as it's ever been. Like they're dominating. Like they've got it.
Yeah.
You know, they finally figured it out. So.
And that's what I feel that Xbox has kind of shied away from, because like Microsoft is buying so many different companies and doing absolutely nothing with them.
Well, they are doing something. They're closing down studios. They're closing studios down. The guys who made Prey and the first Dishonored game, that studio's gone. The guys who made Evil Within and Hi-Fi Rush, Tango Studios, they're gone. So they're doing something with those studios.
Well, yeah, they're sunsetting them studios, absolutely. But I'm saying in regards to, like, let's say when they acquired Rare, you know, like there should have been games coming out the wazoo for Xbox coming from Rare, and like they're not doing much of anything with Rare. You know,
they tried. They tried. They had a Perfect Dark game and they had a Banjo-Kazooie game, and both of those games flopped because they were not good games. And so once they saw that, they were like, okay, whatever, moving on. What's the next Halo game looking like? Like that's how these guys operate.
Yeah, and that's, you know, I think that's part of the reason why Xbox has, you know, has this thing. I think they spread themselves too thin. The fact that they
fucked themselves in 2013 with the Xbox One and Don Matrick and his dumbass saying, "Oh, you have to sign into your Xbox once every 24 hours to play your physical games." And oh, you don't like that? Well, guess what? We have a product for you. It's called the Xbox 360. Remember that shit? Yeah. That's the beginning of the end for Xbox and Microsoft.
I remember that, but I believe people are very fickle. They probably forgot about that and would have continued to support them once they made those changes.
Don't support
come
you
on now. I think the numbers don't support it due to the fact that they don't have much of their own exclusives on Xbox.
That's not true. Xbox launched with more exclusives than PlayStation 4.
No, I'm talking about Series X versus the PS5.
By the time Series X came out, it didn't matter. The damage was done. It's dating back to 2013.
The reputation was...
That's huge, dude. Like, reputation is everything. Why did Xbox fall into third place even though it had the best offerings as far as from a power standpoint and from like from like a feature standpoint? Like you could upload your CD music into the system's hard drive, like, and use it in game. Like that console had so many cool features. It fell flat. Why? Because they didn't have the reputation. What the fuck is an Xbox, bro? Give me a PlayStation. Stop playing with me. Like that's what was.
I mean, it was also super expensive as well.
It really wasn't though.
The most expensive console.
Yeah, it was more expensive, but it wasn't like so. Like I think it launched at $299. And I think the PlayStation at that time in 2002, I think MSRP was sitting somewhere around $199 to $249. So it wasn't that far off, you know. And they had exclusives, but it wasn't enough. their exclusive libraries, it felt like the N64's exclusive library. It was very, very small. Yeah, there was some bangers in there, but it was like, yeah, okay, there's 3 games, cool. All right, what now? Oh, let me look at my PS2 library. As it towers over you and casts a giant shadow. It's like it's apples and oranges. So, but that's the thing of the past. Like now, it's not about, because for these companies, it's not about reputation, tribalism. It's about money. Period.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Let's look back at 2013, the first Pokemon game to go worldwide release, Pokemon X and Y. Why was that important? Because I'm pretty sure Nintendo, Game Freak, and the Pokemon Company were like, well, what's stopping us from launching these games at the same time on a global scale? Okay, well, the localization. Okay, well, who the fuck do we need to hire so that we can launch this game in every fucking major country and continent so that we can maximize our profitability? Because the guy who imports Pokemon Gold, okay,
gets a cut.
No, the guy who imports Pokemon Gold and plays it ahead of time probably isn't too incentivized to buy the American copy 6 to 12 months later after launch because he's already played the fucking game, right? So, okay, we need to launch this game, maximize our sales. If it's available to everybody, everybody's going to buy it because it's Pokemon. Everybody's going to buy it, and that's exactly what happened. And they've been breaking records ever since. So, taking it back to the article, Microsoft, they see a decline in hardware. PlayStation sees a decline in hardware. I mean, not nearly as bad as Microsoft. And even Nintendo sees a decline in hardware, which we're going to talk about later. They want to make money, period. And if there's a way,
Yeah.
if Samsung or Apple decides to make a console that dwarfs the PS5 and the Xbox, right, and is able to play both games, Microsoft is like, hey, Apple, let me talk to you for a second. You're going to take on that hardware market. That's cool. And it plays our stuff. That's cool. They're going to have their rules or whatever. And they can apply all their focus and R&D into software development and accessory development,
Yeah,
right?
that's
where it's headed.
That's pretty much what Sega was doing.
That's where it's headed, right? And I think it's even worse. I think it's going to be, like I said, applications, Xbox, whatever, and PlayStation 6. It's not going to be a console. It's not going to be a box you buy. It's not a product you buy. It's an application you own or rent or whatever for a short amount of time, and they dictate that time. I still have my PS1. I still got a PS2. I still have all these old consoles. I can play them whenever I want. The future, console generations, those are going to be very limited, and it's going to be by their terms. And once that happens and we lose all of our control as consumers and our power as consumers, they're going to set the price and they're going to gouge the fuck out of us. So,
yep. Because there won't be any diminishing pricing, like how you get a game at GameStop for $15. If you find said game on their respective services, like online services, they're still at like $30-$40, So yeah, I agree with that. And to piggyback off your point, Kong, pertaining to like how Pokemon had did the worldwide exclusives, like that's one of my points too. Like once they start seeing that everybody is going to purchase these games no matter what platform they're on, I strongly believe that they're just going to eliminate the consoles as a whole and make everything a cloud-based service.
Yeah, that's the end goal. That's the end game. 100%. That's what's going to happen in 10 to 15 years, maybe even sooner. As internet becomes more regulated and more available to casual players and people who don't play video games, like once it's available to everybody, once it becomes like a necessity, once it rivals that of the electric grid, like how we have like electric companies or whatever, like once internet hits that point of like saturation, these guys are going to follow suit. We already saw it happen with music and Spotify. We already see it happening. It's been happening for a long time now with movies. And TV shows, with Netflix and Hulu and Paramount Plus and fucking Disney Plus and CBS Suck My Dick and NBC Give Me Your Money. All these fucking apps that you have to download to get access to one or two shows. We already see it happening. Games is headed that way. It's just the internet infrastructure has to be stronger in order to like sustain that kind of entertainment, because streaming a movie versus streaming a game is like night and day. It's like it takes way more power, computing power, to do video games versus like a movie, right? So
yep, big time.
Yeah.
Big time. And man, speaking of the article, because this blew my mind. I saw this number before, but it blew my mind again. Like, I think another reason why these games can't be, or why AAA is kind of a bloated corpse and it's run its
Those
course.
budgets, baby.
These games, yeah, they are starting to cost the amount of some countries' national gross profit. Spider-Man 2 had a budget of $315 million. You think Sony's not going to be like, put that bitch on PC because we're still in the red? We have not paid off our base fucking price for Spider-Man. Yeah, give it to PC. I don't give a shit about the Sony ponies throwing a fit on Twitter. We're in the hole for this game. And like, these games are so grossly expensive to make now that the margin for profit is almost non-existent. You're lucky to break even with half these games.
And that was the case for hardware for the longest time, and they made their money off of software. That's how these companies made their money.
Right.
And now it's turned to where hardware is on a decline, but it's still not that profitable. And now software is I don't know if software's on a decline year over year, but definitely the budget has inflated to ridiculous amounts.
It's out of control.
And this is why battle passes exist. This is why DLC exists. This is why all these predatory business practices exist, because they have to squeeze as much as they can out of the existing gaming market, because the gaming market isn't growing. We don't have like the amount of players that we gained, and I say we as like a gaming population, the amount of players we gained 2015, 2018, 2020, like that has stagnated. Now it is flatlining. So they're like, shit, there's no growth. What do we do? Well, charge the motherfuckers who are still here more money. That's what they're gonna do, and they're gonna continue to do that.
And again, another great point in this article, which doesn't get talked a lot because it's a touchy subject, so people tend to not touch it. Is the lockdowns?
Let's touch that motherfucker.
There's is COVID-19, like, people were getting, at least in America, people were getting stimulus checks. They were getting $1,000 to $2,000 checks. They can't go anywhere. They can't go to the club. They can't go to the movies. They can't go wherever. What are they gonna do? I have a PlayStation, an Xbox, a Switch in front of me. I'ma buy some games. And these companies just like, oh my god, everybody's buying games. Everybody's just buying, they're just eating these games up. We can do it. Not realizing that the lockdowns will come to an end. People, for the most part, will have to go back to work, go back to school. Daddy U.S. government is going to stop giving people stimulus checks, so they're not going to have a free $2,000 to throw around buying your latest $70 game. Like, it's gonna end, but these people just like either refuse to see it or just like, nah, the good times will keep on rolling. And it's like, we don't got pandemic money anymore. People are not home playing video games. They're out doing things again. But these companies still think like we're in that bubble of time and we have money to spend.
Which is why we're having all these layoffs and company and store,
not
store closures.
Oh, they went on a hiring spree back in the day. Yeah.
They're gonna make it their business to try to keep you indoors or try to keep you to play.
Which is why they are pushing for free to play games, mobile games, all these games that like we want to maximize your time with our product, but by any means necessary. And we want to maximize your time with the product, and we want to monetize as much as we can, and we want you to be as blind as possible to how much you're actually investing.
Yeah, and I wouldn't.
I'm
be
sorry, I
surprised
misspoke. I didn't mean to say investing, spending, because it's a very big difference.
Yeah.
Spending, it's not investing. It's spending.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the other companies follow Nintendo's suit and just make a more beefier portable digital console, or well, not so much Nintendo, but more so like the Steam Deck, because a lot of those kind of like flourish throughout the current years. We have a lot of Steam Decks. We have like I forgot what the other ones are called, but I can see Microsoft making a digital portable system like that on the go, so that people can download content digitally, and on the go they can still play their game.
Speaking of digital, let's talk about Nintendo real quick. Let's talk about this other article. I'll quickly go through it real quick because you had a good segue opportunity. I'm going to take it. Nintendo expects revenue and profit to decline in the year 2025 due to failing sales of Nintendo Switch and video games. So even Big Daddy Nintendo is not making the same amount of money that they used to. It's not that they're not profitable. It's just that comparatively they have seen a dip. Now, what I want to point out, because you mentioned digital and how Nintendo's going to be the last holdout, which I think is true, but I don't think it's going to be the holdout we think it's going to be. Because in the article under the financial highlights, digital sales accounted for 50.2% of Nintendo's annual revenue from video games. They increased by 9.4% year to year, amounting to $2.87 billion. That's huge. That's insane.
That's crazy money.
50% of their annual from video game software is digital on the Switch.
Yep.
And that's that's almost a 10% increase compared to last year, or 2022. That is. That's 20. Well, we're still in 2024. So yeah, 2023, because their fiscal year is kind of weird. Like it doesn't follow the calendar year, so it's like a 2022.
Yeah, I think it's March or something like that.
So like, that's insanity. Yeah, their fiscal year ends March. So after March, well, we're past March, obviously. So we're in 2025 fiscal year for Nintendo, as far as like their charts are concerned. That's really scary. That's the scariest thing I've seen all day, is the fact that on the Switch, which is like physical media heaven, right? And people love collecting physical media for Switch. Half of their revenue is, or at least for that year, was from digital sales. That's a scary thought. And
do you think it's just the same?
Oh, could that correlation? I'm sorry, Gunna. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, is it the same reason everybody else? Because digital is just more convenient.
I mean,
that's the only thing that can come to my mind.
So
I think it's because not only is it more convenient, but also you have the indie titles that are predominantly digital as well, and more affordable than AAA titles.
Yeah, but still, like, if they made $2.87 billion, exactly half of that raw dollar amount came from digital sales. So it to say it was indie titles that were selling for $10, if we're talking percentages, sure, maybe. But like, they gave us the percentage and the dollar value here. So that, these are pretty easy numbers to like calculate, like 50%, half. So like, $1.42 billion is all digital. Like, if we looked at like if there was a pie chart for like, retro digital sales versus like first party versus third party, I mean, I'm sure that retro and indie games would be like less than 10%, maybe even less than 5% of the overall 1.42 billion that they made last year. So like, that's not even it. It's convenience, it's ease of use, ease of access, and people are comfortable. So they're going to go with the path of least resistance, and they're going to download their shit.
Could it also be that Nintendo just doesn't believe in the word sale? That's like a dirty word to them. So I don't know, maybe I'm giving the average consumer a little bit too much credit. But when I look at Nintendo games, like, it's either you buy them day one or it's day 40 and it's still the same price. Like,
let's talk about that for a second. If we go down to the same article, below are the 10 best-selling Nintendo Switch games as of March 31st, 2024. Top of the list, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Why is this game still in the top 10? Like, who doesn't have Mario Kart already?
Reason 401 why we'll never see a
last bullet point right above that list. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom was the most successful new release last year with 20.61 million units sold as of March 31st, 2024. Other top sellers include Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which did come out last year at 13.44 million. And again, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 8 million just last year. What the fuck, bro? Who doesn't have it already?
That new cart, man. I gotta get it.
Who doesn't have it already? That and Grand Theft Auto 5. How are these games still in the top 10? Like, not of all time, but like top 10 of last week. It's like, what the fuck? Who's buying Mario Kart? Like, that shit bothers the fuck out of me. And it's not even that it's a bad game. It's just like, how is this game still up here? This is crazy. So yeah, it's not that these games don't go on sale. No, it doesn't matter. Motherfuckers will just buy the game. And to Nintendo's credit, they've invested a lot of money into marketing. If you go into Best Buy, if you go into GameStop, if you go into Target, there's a bigger presence of digital cards being represented because they're pushing for that. if you are if your email's attached to a Nintendo, like a Nintendo online account, they're constantly hitting you with emails
Oh,
about
God,
your
tell me
point,
about it.
about, well, this game is at 2% off. Oh, this game is still available. Like, these motherfuckers are pushing, and they're bearing fruit. 50%. That's a result of them, investing money into marketing and marketing and just more digital presence. In email format, as well as like in store experiences. Their Nintendo reps they're always. I used to work at GameStop. Every time I got a Nintendo rep, they would always, okay, hey, so where are the digital cards for Animal Crossing? Then that needs to be represented, and like, these guys are on a mission. So like, Nintendo, for all the praise that they get for being physical media happy and physical media friendly, these motherfuckers are. They're gonna be last to ride that boat, but they ain't far behind Microsoft and Sony. I'll just say that.
They might be slow to adopt, but they'll get there eventually. It's like a old dog, new tricks.
They're moving fast these days.
But here's another thing as well. Like, if you look at the top 10 again, all of these mentioned games are first party. Mm-hmm. They're all exclusives. So it's and
that's why I think like the sale thing, like these things barely like. Nintendo's idea of a sale is putting Breath of the Wild for like $48.
Yep.
That's not a sale, dog.
They don't need the thing. They don't need to sell. They don't need to put those games on sale.
Because the market is responding.
Why do more than you need to? Because the market responds in a positive.
Yeah, it's a courtesy at this point.
Can someone please Google when Mario Kart 8 came out? When was its official first?
It came 2013 on the Wii U.
On the Wii U.
The shit is over 10 years old technically.
So you mean to tell me a game that is 11 years old?
Let me get you an exact
by at this time, we would have gotten a Mario Kart 9 or even a Mario Kart 10.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. May 29th, 2014 on the Wii U. Sorry.
Well, to their defense, to their defense, right? Much like Super Smash Brothers. When it got ported over to the Nintendo Switch, they added new content for that game. So,
boy, I get to ride with Bones.
That's not a defense. That's a standard. That's not a defense.
How is it not a defense? No.
I disagree with you there.
No.
Here's what I'm saying.
Okay, go ahead.
The reason why I say it's a standard: do not sell me the game on the Wii U and then turn around and sell me the same frigging game on the Switch. Don't do that. If you're gonna move
they're lolling on you right now because they stay doing that.
You definitely, of course they stay doing that. I mean, Pokemon has been the same exact game since X and Y.
But that's less egregious. That's less egregious than them porting all the Wii U titles.
It is
100%.
It is, but at the same, it's like if they had just like moved Mario Kart 8, plotted on the system, and left it alone, it wouldn't make sense. For them to add new content, and that's what's really keeping Mario Kart 8 alive, is that it's constantly getting content.
No, because it just recently started getting content. When it first came out on the Switch, for those many years, it did not receive any content whatsoever.
Okay, but if it's getting content now, then that means that clearly
that's playing a role into their continued success for sure. But to Esoteric's point, I think even without the content, they still would be hitting high numbers.
I think so too.
I do believe so. I do believe so too. I do not think Nintendo games will ever go on sale. I don't disagree with Nintendo in their games not putting their games on sale, because the proof is in the pudding. If I do not need to discount my product and you keep buying it, I will not discount my product.
Yeah,
how many times do you see how many times do you see Apple phones go on sale?
Never.
How many times do you see iPhones go on sale? Never, almost never, because people buy the product. So if you keep coming back to me like a mosquito like a moth to the flame, and you keep getting burned, that's your problem as the consumer, not the company's problem. But the overall thing is, it is insane that a game is 10 years old. I mean, Fortnite is old too, and Fortnite is still making its money. But Fortnite has an insane amount of DLC, an insane amount of collaborations, Fortnite has done things that I never thought a video game company will do. You understand? Like, I can see a guy running around as Naruto while seeing another guy fly around as Iron Man. What the fuck? It's like it's so many different worlds that collided in Fortnite. So when you have content like that, not to mention Mario Kart this is a subjective hella fun game. Is one of the best racing games I've ever played in my entire life. I
don't
can
disagree.
say
It's a
that
great game.
subjectively. So I understand. Yeah, I understand why it's a game that is surviving because the game is good. But at the same time,
What a
it does
concept.
play into the
Good games sell really well. Whoa. Let me have a seat here.
And then,
crazy concept. Yeah,
but
I
here's
do
a
agree
okay.
that I do agree that Nintendo is riding on the wave of their own exclusives, and yeah, it's gonna get to the point where they're gonna feel it. Of course, they're gonna feel it, or they are now.
And
You know,
and here's the thing. I don't have an issue with them porting the Mario Kart over to the Switch because first and foremost, let's be for real. Mario Kart 8 initially was on a failed console. Like what they only got like about maybe 8 million sold on the Wii U for Mario Kart 8. So I don't blame them for taking this game and pushing it over to the
I don't
Switch,
blame
which
them at all.
has port.
I don't mind
Yeah.
the ports. You know, I'm with it if anything.
no, I don't mind it personally.
I
No,
don't.
I don't.
Come on, Xenoblade Chronicles X. Come on, one more. It's like, damn it, just do it. Anyway, and
Let it go.
maybe some Japanese businessman secretly watches our podcast.
Yeah, okay. Have you seen our
Don't
view
put in a
count?
word.
Let it
That's
go.
him. That's all him.
I will watch this video 20 more times. That was my racist impression of a
But,
Japanese man. So, you know, let's.
Oh Lord.
Hey, listen, whatever, man. So, real quick, let's talk about some other numbers to wrap up. So, for Nintendo, because we said everything we needed to say about Microsoft and Sony, consolidated sales. This chart, I was fascinated with this chart. The Americas, which is North America and South America, equate to 44% of their overall market
that's
share,
pretty
which is crazy. Europe at 24.3%, Japan at 21.7%, other, which is Australia maybe, 9.7%. That's incredible to me. It's like, wow, like the American market is truly dictating. And when I say America, I'm talking the major, the United States of America, Canada, and South America and Mexico. These regions, and I think it's probably majority Canada and North America, are, come on, let's be real here. So they're dictating like what these companies are going to do next. And with that 50% revenue growth from just digital, these executives are seeing it. They're going, okay, well, what are we doing about this? Like, this is money where we could save, right? By not producing as much physical copies, by not paying so much advertising space for like in-store displays or whatever. It's happening, man. Digital it's happening. Like there's no, oh, let's fight. This fight is done. this fight is inevitable. It is a losing battle.
Yep, man. Just be a Fallout character. Get your shit in your vault, and
that's it.
Wait for the nuke that is digital only to happen, because it's gonna happen.
Unless they put out an update that breaks all your consoles and then you can't play them.
Meanwhile, I'm playing my PS2. I'm like, this game is cool.
Yeah. They'll issue a solemn JPEG. They'll say, we're sorry. And maybe you'll get patched out. And side tangent, if you're ever like, oh man, why are games a certain way? Yo, this is a Japanese company. They should make it a way. I agree.
Look at this chart, 44%.
Just show them the chart. Yeah, their own country is some of the lowest numbers. Europe is higher than their home country.
Yeah.
And North America just beats them over the head. So it's just
what
like,
does that say about
sorry,
us,
fellow...
bro, with video games? Like, I think that's that's kind of like, that's a problem. Like, I'm a gamer too, but I'm like, damn, there's a lot of us here. Like, this is...
Well, it could be just because we're just geographically a big country. If we want to combine, if we just want to say U.S., we're pretty big.
But like, we're almost double of Europe, and Europe is made up of multiple countries. So it's like, it's kind of wild.
We've been trained on a different source of media. It's just like, I blame Hollywood.
That
again.
consume meme is real, bro. We be consuming.
And Nintendo's like, fuck, I'll feed the beast, man. The beast got money. I just churned that dollar to yen. Would be all right.
Microsoft is over here closing studios. Fucking Nintendo is like, net profit grew 13.4% year over year. Like, these guys are chilling with a capital C. Like, they ain't worried about nothing. Metroid 4, you'll get it when you get it, and you're gonna buy it, bitch. Like, that's their attitude right now.
Yeah, they really are, though.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why when people are like, yo, YouTube struck my, I mean, not YouTube, Nintendo struck my video down. It's just like, yeah, but I feel you, bro. But it's just like, Nintendo, they just don't care. And at this point, they don't have to care. They really don't. Because when the next Mario, Zelda, Pokemon game comes, the next Zelda game comes out, my ass is going to buy a bunch of fucking collector's edition stuff for it. I'm part of the problem. It's okay. I admit it. I have a drug addiction, and it's called Legend of Zelda. It's
I need more truffles.
I'm not gonna. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least
I'm a bigger problem than you because I support Pokemon. And
Yeah,
I should not be supporting that franchise anymore. So I'm a bigger problem than you.
Like, look at the last Pokemon that came to come out. Any other studio would burn. That studio would be buried 6 feet under. And Game Freak is like, it runs at 2 frames. Play it, bitch. I'll get 3 copies, Nintendo. I thought so. It's
I
like,
thought so.
Like,
Get on your fucking knees, bitch.
like what the guy? I love the internet's wild, but sometimes y'all just yell into the void. And I get it. You gotta yell. You gotta let it out. But
sometimes you gotta vent.
Daddy N just don't care. And the numbers back them up, man. It's just like they don't care.
And the last thing I want to point out, unless you guys want to mention anything else, so at the bottom there's like another chart with annual playing users and global sell-through. And the annual playing users, I mean, this chart is like every businessman's fucking wet dream of like just green, up. 123 million active users, April 2023 to March 2024. First bullet point underneath that, last year Nintendo sold 199.67 million copies of games for its consoles, which is down 6.7% year to year. But yet they're profitable and they're selling more software. So that means they're selling less units and people are playing whatever games they're playing for longer. But they're still making their money. It's foolproof. Like, these guys have figured it out. They've cracked the code. Wow. This is fascinating.
They're like,
I love reading these articles.
They're like, people aren't buying the cones, but they damn sure buying the ice cream.
For sure.
Yeah, they're just reusing. I mean, they kind of are buying the cones. Look at the amount of people that bought OLEDs. Like,
yeah, that blue bar is impressive. Like, look at the spike of the light
OLED is pretty
from
much
2020 to
the
2021.
same system.
And like,
there is no hardware advantage. Like, the OLED is the same shit with a nicer screen, and yet people just like, one OLED too. You know who bought 2 OLEDs? Me, because it was a Zelda one.
Yeah, I'm a part of the problem too.
Man, I bought my Monster Hunter Switch, and that is it. Like, OLED, I don't give a fuck. You could throw all the letters.
Red bar,
you could throw all those letters at me all you want. I don't give a fuck. OLED, LED, HD TV, fuck you. I don't care. Sorry, go ahead.
So I think all of us here, except BlankaKong, is a part of the problem when it comes to supporting it.
No, he's a part of the goddamn problem too. Because if it was a Monster Hunter OLED Switch out tomorrow, Kong will be on that line. He's probably ordering that shit right now.
Let's stay in the realm of reality over here. There isn't one. There isn't one. But so I'm not a part of that blue bar. Just saying. How many Switches you got? How many Switches you got? Huh?
I'm a part of that.
How many Switches you got?
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth.
I do intend to buy. I do intend to buy Violet really. What's the other one? Scarlet. Violet and Scarlet's DLC. I do intend to buy that DLC, and I do intend to get back in the game because there's a lot that's happened that I want to play. I never missed a Zelda game. Nope. I bought every single Zelda game to ever exist.
Even the CDI ones?
So if it's Zelda, those are not Zelda games. Don't disrespect me.
What? No, Kingdoms of Amalur? Are you kidding me?
We are about to go a whole nother half hour.
I don't know. It says Legend of Zelda on the front. I'm just saying.
It can say that. It can, but they're not Zelda
They
games. It can.
All right,
Okay. Okay.
sure, pal. Whatever you say. I hear fake news all of a sudden. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? So you know what? We can have this discussion after the.
That's
podcast
okay
is over.
because Monster Hunter Go is an actual game too.
Oh
so,
God, please,
Yeah,
fucking
Monster
show me.
Hunter Go is an actual game.
Ugh.
What's the one on the Actually, my cell phone is here now. Let's pull up the Apple Play Store.
It's called Monster Hunter Now.
What's that one? What's that one called?
Monster Hunter Now, you dick.
Monster Hunter.
Oh yeah,
Now?
Monster Hunter Now. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah, that is a real Monster Hunter game, right? It was actually made by Capcom too.
Yeah. And it's a Monster Hunter game that I refuse to play. That shit is gonna sit right next to Rise. Yeah, I ain't touching you ever again. You stay the fuck in that corner. Where's my Freedom Unite? Where's my fucking Monster Hunter 4? Like, don't give me Monster Hunter World.
So you don't intend to play Monster Hunter Rise? No, not Monster Hunter Rise. You don't intend to play Story?
No.
It's still Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it's Monster Hunter by name, sure.
Okay. Wow. This guy's the true fan.
Yeehaw! Come on, Fatalis, let's go.
Hey, I guess he did his due diligence. He purchased the games. He supported the franchise, and that doesn't necessarily mean he has to play it. I guess.
Okay, fair. But yeah,
Sujimoto wants to come at me, but like, you're not a real fan. All right, hold on. I got the receipts. First of all, sir, I am a true fan, but you know what a real Monster Hunter game is. All right, stop playing with me. I know y'all want to make your money. I get it. Okay, your little fucking mobile monster game. That's cute. Okay, Karen can play that shit. That's cool. She ain't a real hunter. You know that. I know that. You play Hammer. I play Hammer. Like, let's stop playing. We can have this conversation in private if you want. I get it. You know.
He's a Monster Hunter style user. You know, we speed style.
Nah, we don't do that. We hunter style over here. Personally, I don't do these like infinite fucking. Oh, let me rub my oils and get fucking. Let me get fucking KOs doing nothing with sword and shield, or let me just infinitely dodge everything. We'll just get that shit out of my face, bro.
Mantles? What the hell is that? Why you got a bed sheet over your head? We're hunting monsters.
Fucking, so incredible.
Hey man, it was nap time all the time. Let me get that gold blankie. I'm good.
Oh no, the only time I used it was for Fatalis. That was it. That was the only time, and it was. I think it was warranted.
Before we get on a Monster.
Yeah. Let's final thoughts and let's wrap up. Let's head home. I've already said everything I need.
I said everything. Yeah, I made my points. Well,
gentlemen, thank you. This was a pretty good one. I enjoyed this conversation. I always enjoy these like business, statistics, article like deep dives. I really enjoy this stuff. For those listening, I hope you enjoyed as well. The links will be in the description down below so that you can look at these articles and these charts and come back and write a comment. Let us know what you think about AAA gaming. Are you for or against there being non-segregated exclusives, like if you have an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Nintendo, whatever the fuck, or a Samsung TV, do you want access to all the same games? I think that's a good thing, but like Esoteric said, that's going to lead to for more digital, a push toward digital, and it's also going to lead to just consoles not existing, right? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It depends on who you ask. I'm kind of for it, personally. What do you think about Nintendo's decline in sales? Do you own Mario Kart 8? Let me know in the comments. The answer is probably yes. I have 2 copies of Mario Kart 8, to be fair. So I found them, so really I didn't buy them, but whatever. I have them. Subscribe for more content. We do podcasts like this every single week. We cover a variety of topics, from current gaming news to opinion pieces to tier lists to discussions, deep dive discussions on like certain games that we're playing. Last week we just did a video on Stellar Blade on our first impressions. I'm still playing through it. The game is great. Do recommend it. Check the description also for all the social media links. So we have like a presence on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook X, sorry, Instagram, TikTok, assuming it's not banned, and Discord as well. Check out Mr. Esoteric on the Logical Gamers Twitch stream. That's down there as well. Give him a follow. He streams 2 to 3 times a week, and he plays a variety of games. And that's pretty much it. So we'll see you next week for next week's episode. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.
Till then.
Take it easy.